everybody, and good morning. Welcome along to the third round of the 2026 United Karting Series. Hello everybody, Alex Goldschmidt back in the commentary box with you all the way through race day today. 21 races on the timetable, very fast and furious action as it always has been.
Round 4 of the United Karting Series here at Circuit Kart Berghem in the Netherlands. Of course, a little bit chilly here this morning, but no rain, unlike the prediction yesterday. We're on the grid, had the warm-up, and of course, for anyone joining us for the first time, this is the combined Rotax Max Challenge Belgium and the Netherlands, as well as the KZ2 classes, including the Masters. So we're in the midway point of the season. So it's starting to get a little bit more serious. Of course, points for the championship. 13 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals tickets to Portimao this November coming up. So yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be exciting, and I know after the qualifying yesterday, a few surprises and some not so surprises, I guess, we expected here. And of course, 1100 metres, the circuit here at Berghem. Also the home of, in the past, some 100cc famous drivers racing here, but today it's all about Rotax Max Challenge. We've got Micromax coming up first, Minimax, Junior Max, Seniors, as well as DD2 DD2 Masters, and then of course the KZ2 after this and the Masters. Starting off this morning, we've got our first heat and the second heat following. Now, yesterday's qualifying determines the grid for those two races, and after this, we've also got the finals, we've got lunch break, driver presentation, so it's really nice. We've got a full program here today coming to you from the Netherlands. So yeah, we're going to hand over now, of course, to our international commentator, Alex Goldschmidt. I'm going to get out of the wind, and we're going to look at some nice pictures. Alex is going to take us through the starting grid, and please stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on the social channels too. Organised by Chrono Karting and of course the team here at Camp Company bringing you live images. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back on the grid soon to meet some of our pole sitters.
Thank you very much, Jen Wade. Great to have her with us here at Circuit Park Berghem for the midway point of the 2026 United Karting Series season. We've already been to Karting Genk, Karting d'Espagne in Marienborg, and to Circuit de Lanzard. Last time out, just around 3 weeks ago. 1,100 metres, as Jen rightly pointed out. 13 tickets for this year's Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals to give away. Now, a little bit of trivia, a little bit of housekeeping reference to Grand Finals tickets. We have 7 for the Rotax Max, through Chrono Karting, the Rotax Max Challenge Netherlands components. There are 3 championships within a championship, so it's going to be very, very exciting today. We are T-minus just 4 minutes away from the first of 2 Micromax heats. So 7 tickets to be given away. We will have, as you can see, the timetable on your screens. It is, as Jen said, a very, very packed schedule. 21 races in total, and more to the point, each of the heats will be 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Now, before I get onto the Grand Finals tickets, there is something that normally happens with Chrono Karting. If we have 2 full starts, one of the big things is to keep the timetable on schedule. After the second full start, the stopwatch begins. And we've had it before where we've had multiple full starts, and then it's become a sprint race plus an additional lap. So we do have the first set of heats up until the lunch break, but we will have 7 total tickets to be given away. With regards to Micromax, there is 1 open ticket available for any driver registered with CNAF, the RACB, or the DMSB. So those are the respective FIA accredited ASNs for the Netherlands, Belgium, or Germany. Now, every driver that wants to book that place on the Grand Finals, the biggest stage of all in global karting, which takes place at the Cartódromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimão, on the revised dates, 7th to the 14th of November, each driver, whether it be Micro, Mini, Junior, Senior, DD2 or DD2 Masters, must compete in every single race weekend on the calendar. All 7. No exceptions, no excuses. And unfortunately, a couple of drivers that were due to take part in DD2 Masters have now foregone their chance. As we take a look at the grid, and there is Hossein Al-Husseini on the Carlos Sainz 55 chassis. Very, very quick in qualifying yesterday, but it was Amizio Zani, the number 22 for Bouvin Power, that put it on pole position yesterday. So as Jen rightly said, the qualifying from yesterday afternoon, which was a little bit tetchy when we got to KZ2 Masters in the dying stages, approaching 6 o'clock local time yesterday evening, when halfway through the session, the rain decided to emanate from the heavens up above. So as I said, there are 7 tickets to give away through Chrono Karting, through CNAF. So 1 Micro Open ticket, 2 for Mini, 1 for Junior, 2 for Senior, 2 for DD2, and 1 for Masters. For the Rotax Max Challenge Belgium component, no tickets given out for Micro, but there is a ticket apiece for Mini, Junior, Senior, and DD2. None for Masters. So we are T-minus less than 60 seconds away from the first out of 21 races. It is a very, very packed timetable. And we should be finishing, hopefully, at around about... Well, the finals are going to be 14 minutes plus an additional lap later on today. So we could be finishing at around about 7 p.m. local time. A packed timetable, as there you see the dummy grid. Also, we have to say a big thank you to the likes of VAG Technique, Van Werven, Van Tenen Coffee Machines, Verstig Automotive, and the Ongeval Anneliese Nederland, that is OAN. They are sponsors of the live stream. And a big thank you to the team at Camp Company GmbH, who are providing live streaming, live timing services, and also our team down in race control. Green flag waves for the first time here. So let's take you through the starting grid for Heat 1, Micromax and Micromax Rookie. It's Amizio Zani in the number 22 that is going to start from pole position. Hossein Al-Hassidi on the Birillart will line up alongside on the front row. Quinten Kleins and Kenji Schreurs on row 2 with Henry Meuert and Sven Borgesius rounding out the top 3. Mads van Alst and the leading German driver in the category, Ian Halfer, rounds out the top 8 positions on the grid. Jeff Kanens and Ertugrul Yilmaz rounds out your overall top 10. Leonard Marx, Marlon Wodkowski, Julia Laurisson and Evert van Middendorp will round out the grid. Unfortunately, Evert van Middendorp excluded post-qualifying for being found to be underweight through scrutineering. As the drivers will now head on to their official formation lap. Very tight and technical circuit, but the first part of it is one where you've got to have full commitment and at high speed, and we have seen people go around the outside. More to the point, this has been the location that in the early 1990s hosted the European Grand Prix of the Netherlands. It is a track that is a staple here on the calendar. So Evert van Middendorp, non-starter according to the live timing. So 13 drivers rounded out by Julian Laurisson in the number 54, running with CS competition. As the drivers get set and ready for their first of 2 heats. And after the 2 heats are completed, that will then decide the grid for the 14-minute plus an additional lap final. So the drivers now making their way down the back straightaway into the final double right-hand complex. Zani on pole position. Al-Husseini, who will be on the right-hand side of the starting grid, completes the front row. The path to Portimao truly starts here at Circuit Park Berghem. We run into the tram lines, revs are up, and we are green for the first time into turn 1. Zani to the outside of Al-Husseini as they are 2 by 2, Noah's Ark style. And Al-Husseini has managed to get through, squeezes past Amizio Zani by the smallest of margins. And now Amizio Zani dives to the inside but cannot get through. And a good bit of work there by Al-Husseini. Kenji Schreurs now up past Quinten Kleins for P3. And there is a little bit of a gap starting to build between 3rd and 4th position. Al-Husseini taking wider lines, thereby carrying the momentum and rotation through the corners. As the number 22 on the Carlos Sainz 55 chassis comes out of the final corner, leads us over the line to complete the opening lap of the race. So Al-Husseini leads Zani, Kreins in 3rd, Schreurs back down to 4th, Henry Meuert up to 5th, Ertugrul Yilmaz for GKS Lemons Power. The youngster up from P10 at the start, now runs 6th, ahead of Mads van Alst. And again, it's going to become a 3-kart squabble for the lead, and Amizio Zani squeezes through on the inside. That's at around about turn 4. Gets through on Al-Husseini, who is going to have to wait for the opportunity to strike because we're only a minute and a half into this 9-minute plus an additional lap heat. But Al-Husseini keeping Amizio Zani very, very honest. Quinten Kleins running on the Parolin chassis, doing a really good job keeping the top 2 very honest indeed. Amizio Zani over the line with a nigh on 3/10 of a second advantage over Al Husseini. Quentin Kleins looking at turn 4 to get through on Al Husseini, but the number 6 holds his line. But Kleins has seen the opening, decides discretion is the better part of valor, and waits for the opportunity. Meantime, Al Husseini once again trying to close on in. Mads van Als has retaken 6th position off of Tugrul Yilmaz, who now is in 7th spot. Just ahead of Sven Borgesius, Ian Halfer down to 9th, as Leonard Marx, the number 73 from Germany, completes your overall top 10. 3 laps down, 6 minutes 20 plus an additional lap to go. And Zani holds on, steadfast to the race lead as through turns 1, 2 and 3 they go. Into the right-hand sweeper at turn 4. It's back on the power quickly and a long run down into another sweeping right-hander here at turn number 5. And it's a very, very technical and flowing circuit. This is the Eurofinal layout of Circuit Bug Berghem. And again, the top 3 last time around were covered by 3.5 of a second. Unfortunately, Marlon Wodkowski and Jeff Kanens have dropped to the back end of the field. Julian Orison now up into P11. But now Amizio Zani starting to stride away. Has got a bigger gap this time. I think it's nigh on doubled. After lap 4, it is nigh on doubled as Al Husseini defends against Quentin Kleins going into turn number 1. And Al Husseini holds station. And now Quentin Kleins is trying to get a bit of a move on. Looks one way, then looks the other, heading into turn 5. And Al Husseini says, unfortunately, the door is not open for you quite yet. But this is not going to stop Quentin Kleins from trying. Wonderful shots from our drone overlooking the 1,100 meter circuit. Okay, kart number 28. Ian Halfer has just been given a 3-second time penalty for 2 wheels outside of the tram lines. Quentin Kleins, looking very, very racy indeed in number 5. Could have gotten through on Hossein Al Husseini. But the number 6, once again, with the Carlos Sainz chassis underneath him, the Lewis Hamilton-style tribute race helmet, holds on to P2. But the pair are closing in once again on Amizio Zani, whose lead at the highest so far this race has been 5.5 of a second. So lap 6 in the books, and Amizio Zani's lead just over 0.3 of a second. Quentin Kleins again looking to get past Al Husseini. And into turn 4. All 3 drivers line astern, a little bit wide from Kleins at the back end of the train. Mads van Als now up into P4, having started 7th, so the inside of row number 2. The entire field, 13 drivers, covered by just over 13.2 seconds after 6 laps of racing. But Ian Halfer, with a 3-second time penalty, is going to find himself down a position behind countryman Leonard Marx in 8th, as Amizio Zani again trying to stride away. The gap was 0.3, it's still 0.3. Quentin Kleins right on the rear bumper of Al Husseini heading into turns 1, 2 and 3. But once again, the number 5 unable to break the deadlock. It seems like Marlon Wodkowski's had a bit of a difficult race. The number 10, one of 3 German drivers in this grid. The biggest loser at the moment seems to be Sven Borgesius. Started on the outside of row number 3, now rounds out the top 10 and is 3.5 seconds behind Leonard Marx at the moment. Fastest lap of the race is by the driver, currently P3, Quentin Kleins, 51.143, and he got a real good run coming out of the final right-hander, and he's swarming all over the back of Al Hassini's rear bumper like a swarm of hornets. But still, the youngster in the number 5 on the Paralin, trying to let through, and there might be the opportunity. Kleins, just about nearly made it through, and Al Hassini did the old thou shalt not pass manoeuvre, which was by millimetres cut across the front of Quentin Klein's front bumper, and that, at the moment, as they say, is that. However, there is still more time left to run in this race. You've got to be razor sharp in your focus. And again, Quentin Kleins, he's going to pull alongside. No, Al Hassini straight away reacts accordingly, and that is allowing Amizio Zani to pull away. We're coming down to the final 60 seconds, plus an additional lap of this first heat out of 7 that will take us to the lunch break. And then we will have 14 races, including the 7 finals, where the drivers will be under bigger duress. Ian Halfer battling away with Tugrul Yilmaz. Bearing in mind, it might be a battle in the drivers' minds for position, but Ian Halfer has that 3-second post-race penalty coming his way. Right, Amizio Zani out of the final corner, 2 laps to go. This and one more, and Quentin Kleins trying to get through once again on Hossein Al Hassini. But no matter what the number 5 has thrown at the driver 6 in front, including the kitchen sink, it's not quite worked out yet. Quentin Kleins needs to be a little bit braver on the brakes into turn 5, but you can only be so brave. And the big thing that Quentin Kleins does not want to have is a penalty. That's the big thing. But Amizio Zani in 2 corners will see the last lap board for the first time this weekend. And what a drive by the number 22 for Bouvin Power. Last lap underway. Gap is now nearly a second as it's nearly wheel to wheel for P2. Did Quentin Kleins get through? No, there's a spinner. No, I think that's Quentin Kleins. Kleins has got around in the exchange with Al Hassini, heading into the final lap of the race. Oh, disaster strikes for the number 5 on the Paralin chassis, which gives Al Hassini breathing room. But when it was all said and done, Amizio Zani, the number 22 from Bouvin Power, has really started to stretch his legs on the chassis underneath him. Last corner, last lap. Amizio Zani wins the opening heats by a comfortable 1.5 miles. Al Hassini P2. P3 is going to be Mads van Alst, Kenji Schreurs, 4th, Henry Muyat P5. Quentin Kleins comes across the line behind Tugrul Yilmaz and Ian Halfer. But Quentin Kleins will be promoted post-race to 7th position at the end of this one because of the fact that Ian Halfer is going to find himself demoted to 9th place at the end of this when the timing gets amended post-race. So that will mean that Amizio Zani takes the win ahead of Hossein Al Hassini in the opening race. The opening heat out of 2 for the Micromax and Micromax rookies, ahead of Hossein Al Hassini. Winning margin, nearly 1.6 seconds, with Mads van Alst taking P3, and with it, the fastest lap of the race. Kenji Schreurs, Henry Muyat, Tugrul Yilmaz, Ian Halfer, Quentin Kleins, Leonard Marks, and Sven Borgesius round out the top 10. But Ian Halfer will be demoted to 9th post-race, with the 3-second time penalty for a start infraction. Jeff Keenans, Julian Laurisson, and Marlon Vutkowski all make it across the line to complete 12 laps of racing, with Evert van Middendorp a non-starter. Well, what a first race to start proceedings here for the halfway part of the season, as we now turn our attention to the next category, Minimax. And when we get to the finals, I will, for those watching at home, I know there's quite a few of you watching at the moment, so thank you so much for joining us here on the Chrono Karting YouTube channel. Over 110 watching at the moment. You know what I need to do is give you all a little bit of a kick up the backside back at home. Like, share, subscribe, and whilst you're at it, make sure that notification bell is on. Because we want the more, the merrier. And also, if you are watching on YouTube, please put your comments in on the chat and let us know who you are supporting. There is SP Motorsports, Ryan Rampadarath, and look at the focus on this young man. Great to have him with us, but he was the fastest in timed qualifying yesterday afternoon. So for those wondering, where are we racing for the rest of the season? Well, the series heads to its only trip outside of the Netherlands to Germany because, well, very interestingly enough, the United Karting Series calendar has 3 race weekends in Belgium, 3 race weekends in the Netherlands, and on the 11th to the 12th of July, we will be heading to the famed Erflandring in Kaupen in the Nordrhein-Westfalen region of Germany. We'll then return here to Circuit Park Berghem on the opening weekend of September. That's the 5th to the 6th. And then the 31st of October to the 1st of November, the inaugural United Karting Series season comes to its end, where we started back on the 8th of March, Karting Genk, the home of champions. So we've got over a total of over 140 drivers here at Circuit Park Berghem. And as Jen rightly said, yes, we do have KZ2, we do have KZ2 Masters. And so there is the timetable. So we'll be running all the way through this morning, right up until about, I'd probably say about quarter to 2 this afternoon local time. And then there'll be a brief pause for around about 30 minutes for lunch, and then at 20 past 2, we go back racing once again. But we are just over 2 minutes to go until they send the Minimax and Minimax rookie drivers on their way for their first heat of the weekend. Just to let you know, I'm just going to turn off my radio at the moment because I've got the live stream in one ear and I'm trying to monitor. Okay. Right then, let's take you through the starting grid for Minimax and Minimax Rookie. Heat number 1 out of 2. Ryan Rampadada starts on pole position. Alongside him will be the young Belgian, Jesse Moonen on the Haas chassis in the 110. Dejan Habits and Arno Hastra round out row 2 in numbers 131 and 115, with Xavier de Decker and Noah Steyhouder rounding out row number 3. Laurens van Vlaanderen, Danny van der Molen, Mila de Karlsmaker and Louis Ledouris round out your top 10. Islands Theo Freher rounds out 11th, head of Tussen Abiels, Flynn Locker, Dan Hillen, Lassie van der Wede, and Theon Alogo A rounding out the 16-strong grid. So once again, it is about these drivers getting tyres in tyre temperature. Very, very much needed. 24 degrees centigrade is the air temperature. Humidity 54%. Wind is to the north of around 3 miles per hour, aka 5 kph. But as you can see, they're getting ready to go racing. These drivers are chomping at the bit, believe you me. It is always a wonderful show with the younger drivers of the Rotax Racing family, as we always do see here in the Benelux region. And of course, great to see that the calendar is as packed as always. Great competitiveness. And there will be a point when we will be hosting the Grand Finals tickets presentation a little bit later on this year. Obviously, the Grand Finals have been... Oh, right. We've got a kart that has stopped on the circuit. So one driver is not going to be taking the start. And that is a real shame. That is one thing that a driver does not want to have happen. Julian Marziak says, come on, Dejan Habits, number 131 for Dams Racing. So... there is going... Oh, it looks like it might be... is it Dejan Habits that has had the technical problem? Because Arno Hartster should have a gap alongside him. If there is no gap, then the driver that moves forward, which might... Well, that's going to be Xavier de Decker. Xavier de Decker holding station. Good positioning there by the 117. So, Dejan Habits not able to take the start as we go. Revs up, lights on, and Heat 1 for Mini and Mini Rookie is underway. We're green and racing side by side for the race lead, heading into turns 1 and 2. And it looks like Jesse Moonen was trying to get through on Ryan Rampadadath as they're all stumbling over each other's shoelaces through at turn 4. But Ryan Rampadadath has got the lead, and it's quite a comfortable one. Ahead of Jesse Moonen, as there is a big old battle for P3 at the moment, but Rampadadath on the SP Motorsport Kart Republic chassis is pulling away in the 132. Moonen, and then it's the two teammates. So that says to me that possibly, I think that might be Van Vlaanderen and possibly Hutsra that might be 3rd and 4th. They come across the line to complete the opening lap, and it's Van Vlaanderen, Noah Steyhouder. Steyhouder right on the back of teammate Van Vlaanderen in the 170. So unfortunately, Dejan Habits is going to have to fight back in heat number 2 a little bit later on, but that's going to compromise his starting position in the final later on today. However, after the opening lap, Ryan Rampadadath was half a second up the road from Jesse Moonen, the younger sibling of Jenthe Moonen, who we'll be seeing a little bit later on. So these drivers now starting to really get up to speed. And Rampadadath's lead has been literally more than chopped. In the words of Mighty Car Mods over in Australia, he's gotten through for the race lead. Beautiful move there by Jesse Moonen at turn 1 to get through, and Rampadadath has just lost another 2 places on the bounce. So Rampadadath now down into 4th position behind Laurens van Vlaanderen and Noah Steyhouder. And look at this, Jesse Moonen has now become the cork in the proverbial Minimax wine bottle. Okay, I'm going to call it this. The cork in the Minimax Perrier bottle. How does that sound? Don't want to associate alcohol with children, I'm afraid. However, Jesse Moonen looking over the right shoulder through turn the final corner of this 1100-metre circuit, the Eurofinal layout of Circuit Park Berghem. Lead is only just under 0.2 of a second. So Jesse Moonen got the got the jump done. And here goes Van Vlaanderen for the lead. Up the inside, and Moonen gets spun. Oh, the slightest of touches to the back axle of the 110. And here comes Ryan Rampadarath up the inside of Noah Stayhouder. Through at turn number 5. The elbows are quite clearly out, and Rampadarath loses more positions. Oh dear, it's all gone wrong for the 132 from SB Motorsport. Van Vlaanderen gets through, and Stayhouder slightly has a touch with the back right of Jesse Moonen coming out of turn 4, and the 110 is around and down the order. And here comes Xavi Redeker in the 117. My goodness, we had some great racing in the in the early couple of laps here in Mini, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And you can just see there's an indentation on the front bumper of Noah Stayhouder's chassis, but sometimes there can be impact to the front bumper, and the bumper is not necessarily pushed in. So 5 minutes to go plus an additional lap, so an exciting and frantic first 4 minutes. Ryan Rampadarath has found himself all the way down into 8th place. Jesse Moonen all right at the tail end of the field in 15th. And more dramas, Rampadarath down to 11th position. So it's not been an easy one for the pole sitter, but it's going to be a change between the teammates. Noah Stayhouder through at turn 4 for the race lead on Laurens van Vlaanderen. They've got Redeker, Van der Molen, who took the win last time out at Circuit de Lanzaard in the final, and also picked up the Driver of the Day award. And Van der Molen looking rather racy on the Birrelart behind Redeker. There's going to be a change as Miller de Karlsmaker has got Flynn Locker to his immediate outside, and then Locker with the crisscross here. Theo Freire, the youngster from Ireland for GKS, is also in the mix, and that's a trio of karts battling over what is P5 at the moment. It's the top 4 starting to stride away. 4 minutes plus an additional lap still to go. My goodness, have the Chinese fireworks been lit? Yes, they have here in Minimax. But a mistake by Milo de Karlsmaker. That's going to allow maybe the likes of Tristan Abeels to get through. Maybe even Arno Hardstrat. But the top quartet are basically 0.8 of a second apart. No announcements from race control as of yet, but they may be investigating what transpired between Stayhouder and Moonen, who has now got through on Lasse van der Weide for 14th position. Ryan Rampadarath, who is currently sitting in P10 after the opening 7 laps of this opening heat out of 2. Finds himself all the way down in 10th position, but is only 3.4 seconds off of the race lead. And now a change again between the teammates. Well, Laurens van Vlaanderen was, I think, maybe a bit fed up of seeing number 112's rear bumper and stickers in front of him, and he's gone, nah, forget this, I want the race lead. And again, Stayhouder right on the rear, 95 thousandths of a second. Might wait until turn 4 as they come out of 3 into turn 4. Redeker is there, Van der Molen there. And they were covered by just under half a second last time round after lap number 8. Noah Stayhouder has the fastest lap of anybody. That was a few laps ago, 48.463. And Theo Freire is now currently running in P6 ahead of, behind Flynn Locker. So a good opportunity for the young Irish driver, who is one of the most recent additions from the UK and Ireland. Of course, Jenson Button having run with GKS in his days under the leadership of the legend that is Mr. Paul Lemons. But Van Vlaanderen and Steyhouder, they are adjoined at the bumpers, let's say. Redeker and Van der Molen, not that far behind. But with just over a minute to go, there is that word that crops up from time to time in the world of karting, and that is unpredictability. And more to the point, with 2 laps to go, with 46 seconds when Van Vlaanderen crossed the line. Jesse Moonen now has put in the fastest lap of anybody. It's the what-if race for the number 110 for Moonen Racing on the Haas chassis. New fastest lap of the race 2 laps ago. 48.353 as we see that, again, Van Vlaanderen and Steyhouder not giving each other much breathing space, if I'm completely honest with you. And sometimes when you have 2 teammates battling over the same part of real estate on the circuit, something invariably might happen if it carries on for too long. Right, out of the final turn, last lap of the race, and nevertheless, Van Vlaanderen keeping ahead of Steyhouder. Redeker P3, Van der Molen P4. Biggest mover, Flynn Locker, 8 places gain, now rounds out the top 5. As now, did we see a change for the lead? Because after this, it is going to be the checkered. So the drivers will now head into the final couple of corners. And it looks like it is going to be the 170. Laurens van Vlaanderen will win ahead of teammate Noah Steyhouder. The gap 58 thousandths across the line as they take the checkered. P3 Xavier Redeker. 4th for Danny van der Molen. Flynn Locker up from 13th to finish 5th. Louis Letauers, Theo Freher, Milo de Gausmaker, Ryan Rampadanath, and Dan Hillen rounding out your top 10. It looks like there might have been a couple of changes post-race. So, Laurens van Vlaanderen winning by 9/100ths of a second. Ahead of Danny van der Molen, Xavier Redeker P4. Louis Letauers, Flynn Locker, Theo Freher, Ryan Rampadanath, Milo de Gausmaker, and Don Hillen round out the top 10. Jesse Moonen 11th, ahead of Tristan Abiels. Theon Alogo Ei, Arno Hadstra, and Lasse van der Weide being the last of the drivers to cross the line and finish all 12 laps. And unfortunately, with the formation lap being underway, the 131 from Belgium, Dejan Habets would unfortunately retire.
Lieke van Berkel, now, of course, you've put it on pole. And one of the most experienced drivers, I guess, driving 5 or 6 years now?
Yeah, just when I started when I was 8, and now I'm just turned 15, so.
Yeah. Okay, now tell us a little bit about yesterday's qualifying, because we weren't on the live stream, but it was a little bit dicey with the weather yesterday.
Yeah, when I drove out the pit, I was like all alone, no slipstream or something, so. And then I saw some rain, but it was not that serious.
Not so bad yesterday. Of course, a little bit cool today. So how were the track conditions?
Slippery, no grip, so you have to be very careful.
No grip? No. Okay. What about the strategy? I guess you've got, it's not such a long race, but when it's like this and you first go out, got to warm up the tyres?
Yeah, like, so I have grip and not just.
Yeah. And of course, on the grid, you've got there are some of the experienced Dutch and Belgian drivers, and a few international drivers that have joined, some of the guys from Germany. But yeah, any particular drivers that you think, okay, I know they're fast today. Does it change a lot when you go from one circuit to another with these guys?
No, not really, because I just want to drive, like, I want to create a gap, so I hope it works out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, of course, there is one of the other girls on the grid, not so many girls here. You know, when you think about this, young drivers, young women coming in to race, what's the goal? Because now you've just turned 15. What's your goal when you think about where you're at in your racing? For the girls out there watching.
I want to go to the F1 Academy.
Okay.
And I'm going to drive some OK, because they spotted me for it, so.
Okay, good goals. We're going to let you get in the car, enjoy the racing, and we'll see you a little bit later on. Okay, Lieke, keep watching F1 Academy, because she's on pole position here at Berghem today for the UKS. I'm going to hop off the grid because we've got the countdown. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, Jen Wade. Great to hear from Lieke van Berkel, looking to move up into, for instance, Esme Kosterman, who's running in the Lego F1 Academy car this year, is also... we've also got Nina Gaderman, who's been a part of Chrono Karting in years past, did make a return to the championship for some KZ2, just to keep the itch scratched, so to speak. But we've got a big contingent as we're ready, as the green flag waves for Junior Max Heat number 1. So here is the starting order for Heat number 1, Junior Max and Junior Max Rookie. Lieke van Berkel starts on pole position and will be joined by Bouvin Powers, Tren van Melk on the front row. Matthias Verreken, the second highest rookie, but the leading Belgian driver, starts on the inside of row 2 with Jur Drent alongside. Devon Mieta and Olivier Mazurkiewicz round out row number 3 with Lionel Munguia and Niki Naruhito Tomase rounding out the top 4 rows. And it's an all-Belgian row 5. Justin Fonk joined by the 299 of Dididadala from SP Motorsport. That's your top 10. James van der Poel joined by Dimitar Lazarov from Germany on row 6. Leon Herbos and Connor Halfer, row 7. Julian Dummer and Pelle van Echtelt round out row 8. Row 9, Milano Shiphorst and Joshua Lauritsen with Jent Themunen and Jesse Andringa rounding out the overall top 20. Sasha Al-Jabrail, Kai Abalera from the United States of America. They round out row 11 with Sebastian Vogden, Yara Kiewicz-Bosch, Aidan Bigman and Tiger Holdhausen rounding out the 26 strong. Now, Lieke van Berkel, I still remember when she went from micro to mini a few years ago. And you know what? She's become a very accredited young racing driver. Forget the fact that she is a young lady. She is a very, very fast driver. Kind of reminds me of the likes of Matilda Olsson, Teresa Babichkova, and a driver that still races with us to this very day. Shout out to DD2 driver Imke Arts. So now this is going to be the opportunity for these drivers to push hard. Now, if you saw what Lieke van Berkel did at Circuit de Lanzarote in the final, believe you me, this young lady is going to be very, very hard indeed to beat. These opening 2 races are 9 minutes plus an additional lap, but for the final, 14 minutes later on today, it is going to be a very different story. Out of the final corner, revs up, lights on, and we are green for 9 minutes plus an additional lap. Van Berkel leads the field as it's getting a bit too elbows out, 3 wide, and there's a bit of a calamity out of turn 2. 2 karts the wrong way. Looked like it was 4 karts involved. 1 driver getting out. And Gillian Maisak is the only person that's in the YouTube chat. Come on, Olivier Mazurkovic, Matthias Verreken, Niki Naruhito Tomasi. Yellow flags. We've had the further incident, this time off of turn number 5, and 6 karts. Oh my days. I thought Mini was explosive. Julia's went, hold my apple juice, and threw the toys out the pram at the same time. But top 3 after the opening lap, it's Van Berkel from Matthias Verreken. Devrim Yater now up 2 spots and is going for second. Up the inside of the Belgian he goes. And Devrim Yater now up 3 places. More overtakes happening a little bit further down the order. Drivers involved in the first one. Justin Fonk in the 223, who hasn't made it past the opening lap. Sasha Al-Jabrail now down into 25th position. And then Joshua Lorison, Kai Abelera, Jesse Andringa, James Van der Poel dumped on his backside from 11th to 20th. That's 9 positions lost. But look at this. Lieke van Berkel still leading off to lap 2. Devrim Yater right on the rear bumper of the 285 from SP Motorsport. And Tren van Melk dives up the inside for P3 on Matthias Verreken. They've got Jur Drent. That's a 3-kart squabble over 3rd place. And oh, Yater looking through at turn 5 on Van Berkel for the race lead on the inside line. It's 3 wide coming through out of turn 5 for 3rd position. But still, the battle lines are in the process of being drawn and recorded on the circuit here at Berghem in the Netherlands. 1,100 metres, the Eurofinal layout, and Van Berkel and Yater have bolted. They are big time up ahead. 2.4 seconds between Devrim Yater and Matthias Verreken, who is now the leading rookie in P3. He's got through on Van Melk. So has Jur Drent in the 236. There's a bit of a squabble at the bottom part of the top 13. Tygo Holthausen started last, now is halfway through the field, up to P13, and is behind the 2 German drivers of Conor Halfer and Dimitar Lazarov. But the 2 at the front, well, Van Berkel, she has definitely got the racehorse blinkers on. So at this moment, Van Berkel, really at this part of the championship season, has definitely gotten into her stride, and it doesn't matter who is her opponent or who her opponents are thereof. She will give no quarter. And she's parking the kart on the racing line absolutely beautifully and trying to anticipate what Devrim Yater in the number 266 will possibly pull out of the magician's hat. As you can see, the people here at Circuit Park Berghem, and look at this, a quartet of drivers. Verreken, Drent, Van Melk, Mazurkovic at the back end of that in 6th. Jenthe Moonen now up 10 places, running P9, and is about 6/10 behind Didi Dadale. Lieke van Berkel has got us to the halfway point of this race with just over 4.5 minutes left to go. plus an additional lap. What a silky smooth drive from the lady up front. And of course, another driver that has been in the predecessor. Oh no, that's a squeeze. Oh dear. Drent gets a push coming out of turn number 4. I think that might have been Trent van Melk up his inside, and there was a little bit of a bump and run there, and Drent has lost and hemorrhaged multiple positions as a direct consequence. Make that now 5. No, 6 places. Make that 7. Has Drent got a problem? That's the big thing. Oh dear, because he's just coming to contact with somebody else. And the race was going brilliantly, was going spellbindingly for Drent. And Drent has now, in the 2-3-6, dropped outside of the top 10 and runs in P12 behind Conor Halfer and Julian Dummer. And Drent is the Dutch cricketer between a little bit of German pumpernickel bread at the moment, because he's stuck between Julian Dummer and Dimitar Lazarov at the moment. So a bit of well, Matthias Verreken closing in on the likes of Trent van Melk, who's running P4 at the moment and is behind Olivier Mazurkiewicz. There's Verreken, and he's got the 299 of SP Motorsports DD2 right on his rear, coming across the line with just under 2 3/4 minutes, plus an additional lap to go. So unfortunately, right, goedemiddag, or good morning if you're in the United States. Koen Stout, Karel and Katrien, again cheering for DD2 and also the father and son duo, Jori and Carl Klebort. Of course, if those people that know of Karel Stout, he's been running in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America, powered by Yokohama with Kelly Moss Racing, and has been and is leading the championship at the moment. Had an unbroken run, I think, of Koen. You might need to correct me. I think it was 3.5 race weekends that Karel was dominating, and then he ended up having I think it was a 7-win streak on the bounce. So great to see another export from the Benelux region heading across the pond, so to speak. But Lieke van Berkel has broken the deadlock between herself and Devrim Jeter. Jente Moonen now closing in on DD2 for P7. And also there's Leon Herboz just up ahead. So Matthias Verreken now up into P5. Yes, Koen, I can see you typing. 7 out of 8 races. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Karel gets on for the rest of the season. But Lieke van Berkel doing a stellar job. Jeter second, Mazurkiewicz P3, Van Melk, Verreken. Herboz now new fastest lap of the race. 44.893. Jente Moonen. Right, there we go. Thank you, Koen, for... So, yes, it was Kota. Got a penalty in the first race at Circuit of the Americas. There's a bit of a ding-dong battle happening here. Verreken looks to be in the middle of it. And that's Herboz behind. Van Melk in front. And Verreken, can he try and get through? Van Melk runs wide. Verreken gets through. So does Herboz. 2 laps to go. Yes, and Karel is currently... he's got 100 points advantage in the championship at the moment. But look at this, Matthias Verreken has got a swarm of karts behind him. I count at least 5, maybe 6. And if Matthias Verreken holds on to P3 after one more lap of this 1100-meter circuit, as there you see the wonderful shots from our drone. Brilliant to have that with us. But it is going to be last lap very shortly for... Lieke van Berkel. Here she goes across the line. Lead gap was 1.6 seconds. Now make that 1.9. Van Berkel, once again, carries the run of form from Circuit de Lanzaard. As, dramas for Olivier Mazurkiewicz. The number 216, the rookie. running under the Mazurkiewicz Racing banner, has tumbled down to 12th behind Drent. But what a run it has been for the 285 Lieke van Berkel. Absolutely wizard racing by the young lady driver, and she will pick up the race win. Van Berkel will now be out of the final corner. She has taken the checkered flag. Yater P2, Van Melk P3, Verreken holds on for 4th. Lionel Munguia, round 2 driver of the day back at Marienborg, picks up P5 ahead of Leon Herbos with Jente Moonen 7th. Diridadala P8. Conor Halfer and Julian Dummer, the 2 drivers from Germany, round out your top 10. Ahead of your Drent, Olivier Mazurkiewicz. Then Tiger Horthausen. Good to see Yara Kiewicz-Bosch doing a really good job in the number 205. She moves up the order to 14th from 24th on the grid, ahead of Milano Shiphorst, who rounds out the top 15. James van der Poel, Niki Naruhito Tomase, Dimitar Lazarov, Pelle van Echtelt, and Jesse Andringa round out your top 20. Joshua Lorison, Aidan Beekman, Sebastian Vogten, Sasha Algebral, and Kai Abelera round out the finishers. And I've just been notified 296 has just got a penalty. Dimitar Lazarov, 3 seconds, which is going to drop the young German outside of the top 20. But Lieke van Berkel wins the opening heat in Junior Max. Yeah, there looks to still be quite a bit of a breeze out there, but there is the timetable. We've already gone through 3 of the 7 heats this morning, so we've still got seniors. DD2 and DD2 Masters will run together. And then we'll have KZ2 and KZ2 Masters, which will bring us to the lunch break. There have also been some developments with regards to the results so far. Micromax Al-Husseini confirmed as the race winner, as Amizio Zani got a second official warning and thereby got a 3-second time penalty post-race, so was demoted to P2 at the end of it. Mads van Aals P3 ahead of Kenji Schreurs and Ertugrul Yilmaz. Henry Moyat, technical non-compliance, so the number 19 was excluded from the opening heat. So that is as far as I'm aware at the moment. Still waiting on the confirmation of the mini-max results from heat number 1. But, yeah, 296. Dimitar Lazarov got a 3-second time penalty for unsportsmanlike driving. But not that far away, about 4 minutes or so. And Gunstaut, thank you very much for the advice. I don't tell you how to do your job, but hey, it's good to hear from you, buddy. We need to catch up at some point. But yeah, very shortly we'll be getting underway in just under 4 minutes' time with our next race, which is Heat 1 for Senior Rotax. Now time for Heat 1 for seniors. Here's your starting grid. Lars Lambers and Vince van der Holle make it an all-Bouvin power front row. And for Belgium, ahead of Boris Verhagen, Luke Neeson rounding out row 2. Kaz Boshuis and Max Siderski row 3. Thijs van Wijk and Flynn Fitters row 4. Bran van der Weken and Mick van den Hout round out the top 10 ahead of Thomas and Ruben Verheyen, the two brothers alongside each other on row 6. Jur Valkenhaus and Jon Jelle Bremer, row 7. Benjamin Van Hees and Sverre Ubben, row 8. Row 9, Sweden's Priam Lelang, joined by TB Kart Netherlands, Mitch Hainert. Jay Zerveld as PimBG 6837 cheering on the man under the Red Actions driver development program, of course, Bram Ossewaarde. He's joined by Boris Maximov on the outside of row 10. Felipe Falk returns to the series, and he'll be joined by Vic van Kampenhout on row 11. Raymer van Beek, Rein van der Meer, Martin Herrera, representing the Netherlands by way of Colombia, rounds out 25th, ahead of Bo Alvarez, Niels Verkooyen, Nick Soudan, Olivier Lemmens, Sepp Terhaus, Julian van Bossem, and Kyle Hulmans. And Patrick Verbest, goedemiddag, alle Bran van der Weken, as always. Bran starting on the inside of row number 5. So, minis and juniors brought a little bit of heat to the kitchen. Is it going to be a raging inferno that seniors are going to bring very shortly, because it's 9 minutes plus an additional lap? And there you see a lot of OTK, a lot of Tony Kart colours at the front end of the field. So, 9 minutes plus an additional lap of the 1100-metre Eurofinal layouts here at Circuit Park Berghem in the Netherlands. Around about a 40-minute drive from Eindhoven Airport. Now the mind games are starting. Accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. And now the field lines up into formation. We haven't had a full start yet. If we have 2 in a row, the sporting regulations say that we will get that the timer will start automatically. So, Lambers, Van der Holle, front row. Split into the tram lines. Let's see, do we go green this first time of asking? Yes, we do. And this is going to be a bit hairy going through into turns 1 to 3. And look at this, they're already starting to fan out. Looks like Kansball's house is trying to get through. Oh, and someone slowed down right at the back end of the field. Elbows out. Boris Verhagen's just been passed by, I think, Luke Neeson. And we did have a yellow flag for the driver that was slowing down through out of... right, Jay Zervel's dad. So, thank you to... thank you very much indeed, Mr. Zerveld. Let's see how Jay gets on. But after the opening lap, it's Lambers versus Van der Holle. The two Belgians leading the way after the opening lap. Luke Neeson, P3. Boris Verhagen has got Max Siderski on his case. Siderski, very much a newcomer earlier on this year as a rookie in the seniors. And the top 3 starting to break away early. Side by side for... right, so I think that was Thijs van Wijk that made a little bit of a mistake, and Flynn Fitters was trying to get through. That was the battle for P7, maybe, or it might have been for P6. So Kasbah's house versus Thijs van Wijk. Van der Holle looking for the opportunity to get through, but Luke Neeson to the inside at turn 4. Takes second position away from the Belgian, and there's someone that's gone sideways very wide throughout a 4. That looks to be a Dams racing cart as well at the same time. And all 3 wide. That's never going to go well. I think that's Sverre Ubben at the front end of the train there for GKS Lemons Power. in the 399. Max Swiderski, however, has managed to get through on Boris Verhaag for P4. And now the hunt begins. Swiderski, new fastest lap of the race, 44.397. A little bit further back, there was a bit of 2 and 8, a bit of elbows out. And, oh dear, Jay Zurveld is already out of the running, I'm afraid, on the opening lap. So sorry to Mr. Zurveld. Your lad is not, yeah, he's retired. He didn't even get past the opening lap, and that's how quickly things can change on a sixpence here in seniors, but it is definitely elbows out. Stanley knives on the edge of those elbows, well and truly sharpened. But now the train is concertinaing at the front end of the field as Lambers trying to get through on Van der Haarle through at turn 1. Little bit of a touch between the pair, and they both held it. Swiderski to the inside. Through he goes for third position. Boris Verhaag will want to get back through, and Swiderski looks over his left shoulder, doesn't look over his right. And Boris Verhaag nearly could have gone past him as if Swiderski was standing still. Oi, 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 oi. This is getting really hot and heated under the collar, that's for damn sure. But Van der Haarle now has the lead. Lap 5 completed. As, oh dear, Olivier Lemmens and Vic van Kampenhout are out. And we have got, oh right, we've got a yellow flag heading into, oh right, full course slow. Full course slow has been employed by our race director. Race has now been neutralised. So there has been an incident somewhere that has caused, and there's a kart stricken. So, proceedings overlooked by race director Michael van der Riet. He is called for the full course slow. So everyone has to slow down, and in some cases they may have to be prepared to stop. We have had it before where races have finished under a full course slow procedure, but we still have 4 minutes plus an additional lap left to run. Now, for those new to a full course slow, once the flags are stationary and the slow board is out, the next lap we will be back under green flag racing conditions. Okay, new track record, 44.044 for Bran van der Weken. Right, kart 393 has just received a 3-second time penalty for unsporting driving. That is Raymer van Beek down in 17th position. Yes, of course, Mrs. Zurveld, better luck next time for Jay. So, the way things are going, it will be a single file restart. There's Olivier Lemmens walking away. Good to see him up on his own feet. Haven't seen any pictures of Vic van Kampenhout. But we will have just about 2 minutes to go. And with them lapping, that's probably going to give us 4 more laps of racing left. So now it's down to Van der Haarle. He's now going to go bolting away. And green flag, we're back underway here for Heat 1. So it concertinaed the field back up once again, and Van der Halle is very, very much under attack, and Luke Neeson to the inside. He gets through. Boris Verhagen was also trying to get through. Here comes Max Sadurski and Lars Lambers, and now they've got the elbows out and through up the inside. Flynn Fitters joins the party. Fitters got a run on a few other drivers and made sure it worked, but Neeson going with Van der Halle. Van der Halle in P2 at the moment, looking to try and get through on the 375. And they are still... the elbows are always out in senior road tax. Strike, that's 3 laps remaining. Lap 8's completed. Van der Halle, 78 thousandths. Oh, he tried to the inside of Luke Neeson at turn 2. Max Sadurski now trying to see if he can get past. It's all straight off. Oh, straight off. That was Kaz Boshouse, I believe, possibly in the 363. Late on the brakes and straight on. Oh, dear. That means that driver will then be put to the back end of the field for shortcutting the circuit. But 2 laps to go, and Luke Neeson has bolted. Max Sadurski right on the back bumper of Vince van der Halle going through into turn 2. Lars Lambers is there, Flynn Fitters is there. Sadurski trying to force the window open through at turn number 4, but he can't get the job done. I thought it might have been Kaz Boshouse. It looked like it was actually Boris Verhagen in the 303 that went straight on. As it's 3 wide, there's a little bit of touching here or there, but 2 laps to go, including this one. And Luke Neeson has got the get out of jail free card. 1.1 kilometres to go for the 375. Vince van der Halle desperately trying to hold on to second ahead of Sadurski. Goes to defend the inside line into turn 1 for the final time here on lap number 11. Neeson away by 7 tenths. And again going into as Flynn Fitters trying to get through on Lars Lambers. Ruben Verheyen and Boris Maximov trying to get their elbows out. And Maximov up 14 places. I'm not quite surprised by that at all. But Luke Neeson trying to pull away into the distance, and at the moment looks like it's going to be a nigh-on formality. Right, kart 324 has just been given an official warning for driving behaviour, but Luke Neeson out of the final turn will take the checkered, and it's Van der Halle P2, Sadurski P3, Lambers 4th, Fitters, Verheyen, Van der Weken, Maximov, Heynert, and Ruben Verheyen P6, Thomas Verheyen P10. But what can you say about that drama? Full course yellow, and it then condenses the race. Luke Neeson wins after 11 laps by 7.5 tenths of a second from Vince van der Halle. Max Sadurski, Lars Lambers, Flynn Fitters, Ruben Verheyen, Bran van der Weken, Boris Maximov, Mitch Heynert, and Thomas Verheyen running at the top 10. Kaz Boshouse, Jorn Jelle Bremer, Rein van der Meer, Thijs van Wijk, Felipe Falk, Martin Herrera up 9 to finish 16th, ahead of Sverre Ubben. Bo Ulrich, Terhorst up from 30th to finish 19th, ahead of Sweden's Priam Lelang. Benjamin Van Hees, Carl Humans, Reimer van Beek, Mick van den Hout, Nick Sudan, Boris Verhagen, Niels Verkooyen, Julian van Bossum, Jurval Kanaars, and then Olivier Lemmens, Vic van Kampenhout and Jay Zurveld out early in the race. What a chaotic first senior heat of the race day.
Hey, I'm ready. They do that all the time. And then they go, just joking.
Yes.
Already?
Yes.
What's he doing? He must have got out early before the rain.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I better talk. Someone. I'm ready. Alrighty, so front row here. I feel really short, but the drivers are so tall.
Yeah.
Scott, pole position.
Yes, pole position. Great qualifying yesterday. So let's see what we can do now.
Now, of course, I just said to you, right behind you is the first master in the DD2, Derek. He's fast. Are you worried about him?
Not at all. It's because the qualifying was a bit wet. So in the dry, the gap is normally bigger.
Of course, he's a little bit heavier, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
Looking at him. Okay. Pretty competitive grid here. One of our lady drivers here. We've got Imka also a bit further back. She's running, in the top 3 in the championship so far. Of course, there's Axel over there. He's leading the championship. I won't tell anyone, but what's the strategy?
Just push and see how it goes.
What's it been like racing at the UKS? Of course, we've got German and Belgian, Dutch drivers all together.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really tough competition. We've got some girls mixing it up, the Masters. What's it been like, just for anyone that doesn't know the championship?
Especially this year in the DD2 class, the level is higher than the years before. So it's really fun.
It's going to be fun. We're going to let you go. Sit back and watch. Congratulations once again, pole position,
Yeah,
Scott Westhaven. Thank you. Well done. Alrighty, so I'm off the grid, but nice to talk to the guys. It is really, really competitive. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. And like I say, some of the girls mixing it up. Axel,
Yeah, thank you very much, Jen. Scott Westhoven's maiden pole position in his first year as a DD2 driver. Him, along with Julian Klosman, have moved up to DD2 this season, but also good to see Scott in very, very good spirits when Jen and I came to the circuit this morning. Right, okay, time to take through the DD2 and DD2 Masters opening heat. Then we go from Rotax to KZ2 after this. Scott Westhovens and Pepin Riedman are on the front row of the grid, ahead of Derek van Kurt and Gwen Bloxhill. Her best results in qualifying this season. She starts on the outside of row 2. It's Crazy Boy Jim Ringelberg on the inside of row number 3. Second highest place Masters as he's joined by Wout Kirstens, who took the DD2 title last year in Chrono Karting. Ralph van der Paven and Axel Hoos Rounding out the top 4 rows with Erwin Montfort making a return to racing this season. And he's got Julian Klosman from SR Solutions rounding out the top 10. Mike van Maastricht, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, Jori Klebor, Hugo Klebots, Kai van der Werf, the one, the only Mr. Christoph Adams starts 16th, ahead of competitors Dimitri Ostrovsky. And I'm so pleased to see the man that I nicknamed the fastest baker in Belgium, well, simply now known as the Baker, here for Racing for Fun, Karl Klebor, multi-time Grand Finals qualifier. Bennett Demler from FM Racing, a non-starter, didn't take part in qualifying yesterday. Imke Art starts 19th, head of Jesse Spans and Ton van Weert, rounding out the grid. So, as I alluded to earlier, if you do not take part in all the rounds for the relevant categories, especially if you are a DD2 Master, the ticket battle now goes between Erwin Montfort and Christoph Adams, who, if memory serves me correctly, I think has competed in, I think it's either 17 or 18 Grand Finals. He did have the longest run of Grand Finals, and that puts a bee in the bonnet of a good friend of the Rotax family, Scott Campbell from SCR Racing over in Saskatchewan in Canada. Greetings also to our good friend Mr. Henry Baudet, currently in Cincinnati this weekend with Kart Chaser. Right, revs up, lights on, we are green for 9 minutes as side by side for the lead into turn 1 once again. Imke Art's getting a shout out in the chat, but Scott Westhoven's manages to extend what is now a 3-kart length lead over Pepin Rietman. Derek Van Coort has got Jim Ringelberg swarming all over his rear bumper. Ringelberg running on the Falcon chassis as they go through into the infield section here at this 1100 metre circuit. And more to the point, well, Westhoven's made the best of the tricky qualifying conditions yesterday, where we did have a little spattering of rain. You can see that the back end of the carts are looking a little bit twitchy when they're turning through the corners, just basically because with the Mojo D5s, in colder temps, they do have a little bit less grip. There's a side-by-side battle, I think, between Hoos and Kirstens. That'll be for P7 overall, but more than likely P5 as Jim Ringelberg gets through on Derek Van Kurt for P3, and more importantly, that is for the Masters lead. As, well, Dimitri Ostrovsky has dropped down 2 positions. Kai van der Werf now down 5 spots, having qualified on the inside of row number 8, as we're going to see a move here. Julian Klosman dives through with millimetres to spare on Derek Van Kurt, and now the man from SR Solutions, oh dear, as Gwen Bloxhill from DNA Racing, she's another of the female drivers that we have on the grid this weekend, running in the same class as Imke Arts. Imke Arts currently up at the moment 2 places ahead of Karl Klebor in the 511. And she's behind Carl's son, Jordi. Now it's really starting to heat up at the front end of the field, because Scott Westhoven's being chased down by SP Motorsports Pepin Rietman in the 481, and Rietman's put in the fastest lap of the race. The gap has gone down from just under 4 tenths to just over 1. And another new fastest lap by the driver in 2nd position. And here goes Rietman through at turn 5 for the lead, and he's through on Westhoven's on lap 4. Biggest mover at the moment, yes, is Spuns in the number 418. Up 10 spots from P20, now rounds out the top 10. Closing in on Mr. Mulletman himself, Mr. Ralph van der Pavert for SP Motorsport in the 468. And he's really starting to get up to speed as Ralph van der Pavert when it comes to his DD2 racing. Was originally a senior. But Westhoven's keeping with Rietman. Klausman closing in. This is for P3 overall. Ringelberg's not going to fight it. Lets him through. Ringelberg holds on to the DD2 Masters class lead behind the 499 of SR Solutions. Julian Klausman, of course, the team run and operated by Scott Svart. And there is a man who normally is found to be on the tools at that locality, Matthias Turlo. Good afternoon, if you're here, or if you're watching at home. And then there is Wout Gersten's very, very quick DD2 young charger. Closing in, coming out of turn number 1. Ringelberg trying to keep the racing line. Can Gerstens go up the inside at 4? Yeah. And again, Ringelberg doing exactly the right thing. Just thinking, okay, my race is not with you. My race is with everyone that's got a 5 on the front of their car, on the first of the 3 numbers on the Nassau panel. And the nearest competitor to him is Owen Montfort, who is now down to 10th position behind Gwen Bloxhill. Jesse Spahn's now up into 8th and is closing in. Mehmet Benamor, my friend from Turkey, good afternoon. Are you still racing in Germany, my friend? That's the big question. Someone who's competed in the MENA Karting Championship Nations Cup, representing that nation. But still, Ton van Weert was just across the line, but, oh, right. Ralph van der Pavet's got his elbows out, and there goes up the inside. Oh, right. We got a bit of a race on our hands because Axel Hoos has just been done over by Jesse Spans, who's now picked up another position, and Ralph van der Pavet is through as well. So Axel Hoos down from 6th to 8th position overall. But more to the point, that is P5 in DD2. Any indication of rain? Salvras 4853. I'm not a meteorologist. Who knows? I don't look at a weather app at the minute, but the clouds are still looking a little bit menacing. They're starting to get a little bit grayer, a little bit darker in colouring. So Moment, so you've gone to Italy. Good choice when it comes to having the best pizza and pasta in the world. Well played. Hopefully that means you'll be racing at Sarno at one point or another. Okay, 3 minutes to go. Pepin Rietman now has a 5/10 of a second lead over Scott Westhoven's. Klausman, P3. Wout Gerstens, P4. Ringelberg, Billy No Mates in 5th. Leading Masters. Oh, and we've had a coming together. And that might be possibly Gwen Bloxhill and then with Erwin Montfort. Off of turns 1 and 2. Because it only happened briefly after the line. And it's on one of the most fearsome parts. As I said, you've got to be committed. You've got to have the stones at high speed to go through that that complex. And Pepin Rietman holding on at the minute. Yep, and I can confirm it was Gwen Bloxhill and Elrin Montfort that came together coming out of turns 1 and 2. And that has changed the dynamic. Gwen did a really good job qualifying in P4. As Julian Klausman has lost out to Wout Gerstens for P3. Yannick Kilianski from Voigt Motorsport. Good Nachmittag. Great to hear from you. Oh, crikey, Voigt Motorsport. That's a name I remember from back when I started commentating in Europe in 2018 for the Euro Trophy. Oh, my goodness me. But Pepin Rietman, I don't think is out of the wilderness quite yet. There's still just over a minute and a quarter to go. Yes, Sispan's now battling away with Ralph van der Pavet. They're going to be going wheel to wheel into T5. Van der Pavet keeps the elbows out. And Axel Hoos says, thank you very much. That'll do nicely. Gets through on the pair of them. So Axel Hoos gets what we call in the United Kingdom at the supermarkets, the Bog-Off special. Buy one, get one free. You buy one, you get one free. But we're going to be on the bubble here. I would say possibly 3 laps to go. As Pepin Dietman crossed the line with around about 47 seconds left on the timers. That basically gives us 3 laps. So 3.3 kilometres of the circuit here at Berghem for this 4th round of the 2026 United Karting Series season. But Wout Kirstens has set the fastest lap of the race, 43.753. We are on the bubble, 5, 4, 3, 3 seconds to go, 2 laps remaining. And Pepin Dietman has held his nerve at the front end of the field. Scott Westhovens with the Kart Racing Zoid outfit, Wout Kirstens with Combi Kart Racing Team. And then Julian Klausmann not that far behind the top 4. With 2 laps remaining, we're covered by just over a second. It will be last lap board this time. And Pepin Dietman doing a stellar job at the front end in the 481 Kart Republic chassis run by SP Motorsports. So just over 1 kilometre remaining. Now, Wout Kirstens as, okay, new track record for Jim Ringelberg in DD2 Masters, 44.216. As there we see Scott Westhovens holding on for that 2nd position. Ahead of Wout Kirstens, Julian Klausmann up 6 places from P10 to now being 4th. But it is only going to be a matter of corners, because Pepin Dietman has done exactly what he's needed to do. He's controlled the pace from the front of the field, and he takes the checkered flag, wins Heat 1, DD2 and DD2 Masters, ahead of Scott Westhovens by 0.4 of a second. Wout Kirstens P3, Julian Klausmann P4, Jim Ringelberg, DD2 Masters Heat 1 winner in 5th overall. Axel Hoos places P6 ahead of Jesse Spons, who started 20th and finishes P7. Val van der Pavet, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, and good old Imke Arts on cue. She makes up 9 places to finish in the top 10, ahead of Mike van Maastricht, Jordi Klebol, Kai van der Werf, Hugo Klabots, Derek van Kurt, and Carl Klebol round out what will eventually be your top 3 in Masters, ahead of Christoph Adams, Dimitri Ostrovsky, Owen Montfort, Gwen Bloxhill, and Ton van Weert. Round out the 21 drivers that finished all 14 laps, with Bennett Demler from FM Racing representing Germany, a non-starter.
Terug de baan op, Michael. En dat hij daar in de hoek een gevaarlijke situatie veroorzaakte. is Masters again.
Good idea. But they're separate, huh?
Sorry?
They're separate.
Yeah.
You're going to race with the young guys.
Yeah. But Chantal is older than me, yeah?
Yeah. I know. But they get a choice. Which
No,
race?
I'm not that old yet. You all think I'm fucking 35, but I'm 29, yeah?
Because he told me you're an old guy.
Yeah. But I'm not a master.
No.
I'm 29, Jen.
Come on. I'm on the wrong dude. It's in the wrong order.
Ja, dat klopt. Daar moet je naartoe komen.
It should be this page next. Yeah. No, I think, is it a choice that the master can race on this grid?
Not a complete field, but you can, when you're like 40, if you have the seat for this, you can enter this one also. Because you know Arjan, right? Yeah, he was here in this class. Daar kunnen ze eigenlijk geen schuldig voor aanwijzen op de beelden. Maar ik zeg, hij gaat er gevaarlijk staan in Spaans op. Ja, maar ik heb niet dat je dan staat te liggen mekkeren dat hij daar van tevoren weer afgereden is. En weet ik het allemaal. Maaike die gaat gewoon het probleem uit de weg. Dat is heel simpel. Ja, ik snap. Ja, dat was het. Ja, en ik hamerde hem op. Ik zeg, maar je moet er wel iets mee doen. Ook al is dit dupe. Ja, nee, ja. En dan gaat hij uit de weg. Ja, dan houdt het van mij ook op, hè. Maar je kunt er toch naar naartoe gaan. Ja, maar ik heb het ook gezien. Ik zag wel dat het niet helemaal lekker liep daar. Kijk, van tevoren werd eigenlijk doorgeduwd dat hij rechtdoor moest. Hè. Hij kon geen kant op. Maar dan, 2 jaar. En dan lost hij het daarin. Juist. Ja. En dan zeg ik dat tegen Michael en dan gaat hij het uit de weg. Ja, maar dan moet ik... Dan denk ik, ja Michael, kom op zeg. Wat er van tevoren gebeurde, dat zijn 2 losse dingen. Hij wordt doorgeduwd en hij snijdt de baan op. En dan maakt hij een fout met gevaarlijk terugkomt. Maar ja, hij doet er dus niks mee. Ik heb het geprobeerd. Oké, houdoe.
Right, time for a first bit of KZ2 action for this weekend. And here is your starting grid. It is an all SP Motorsport front row with Nico van der Paven and Enzo Bol lining up alongside each other. Sam van der Scoiler and Kevin Stehar round out row 2. Nick Pluimers and Luca Prima. Daniel Tenbeck and Nick Pluimers round out row 3. Luca Prima and Robin Glerum, who's praying for rain, round out row 4. Ryan Kivitsbosch and Servutas round out row number 5, completing the top 10. Great to see Chantal van Andel go from the Classics to KZ2. She'll be running on the inside of row number 6, joined by DJK Racing's Kane Ince, who has been on a bit of a weight loss program the last few weeks. Nelson Berghaus lines up on the inside of row 7, and Hust Specken makes a return to the racetrack for the first time in a very long while. He'll be joined by MP Kart Racing teammates Quinten van Leuven, Milan van Vinden, and last year's Chrono Karting KZ2 champion Tommy van der Stroys. And had an interesting chat with Hoost yesterday. He said, I'm going to do the Top Gear challenge. I said, last to first challenge? Well, he's nearly pulled it off before, as Jen Wade has reliably informed me of. But it is going to be standing start, like in Formula One. Of course, the Monaco Grand Prix happening this weekend. I don't know any. Don't spoil anything for me. Reference who's got pole position, who's going to win the race, because my focus is in the here and now. Of course, it has to be a standing start with the amount of torque that is produced through the rear axle. His kart's producing the best part of nearly 50 horsepower, 0 to 100 kph in less than 2 seconds, and top speed sometimes, depending on the circuit layout, can be even as high as 160, 170 kph, which is over 100 miles an hour. So air temperature has risen. Humidity now 54%. Wind to the north, 7 kph, which is around about 4 miles an hour, give or take. Nelson Berghaus was excluded post-session and has got outside help on the track without permission from the clerk of the course. Van der Pavert, Bol now in their starting boxes. Once we get the green flag at the back, the lights will start to ignite. The last few drivers rounded out by Tommy van der Stroys in the 254 will mean the green flag waves at the back. Drivers instructed to look at the lights. For the first time today, it's shifter kart madness here at Circuit Park Berghem. The 4 red lights, they're on, and we're underway. Good start from the outside of the front row by Enzo Bol, who barges sidewalls with his teammate Van der Pavert is around. Oh dear, not what you wanted on the first lap. You put it on pole and you get spun around on the opening corner, and Van der Pavert is going to have to fight his way back. But that means that Sam van Verschoylen is now up into P2. As look at this strength in numbers. Someone else has had a bit of a drama, I think, coming off of turn number 5. But again, just goes to show this is one of the most brutal, physically and mentally demanding categories within the world of karting. Enzo Bol leads over the line after the opening lap. Verschoylen, Ten back, Stayhauer, Ploymers, Glirum. And well, Nelson Berghaus looks to have not gotten past the opening lap. But it is the man in second position that on the opening tour of this race has put in the fastest lap, 46.853 for Sam van Verschoylen in the number 219. So at the moment, it is going to be the case that Enzo Bol in the 255 still leads. Mika van der Pavert has tumbled all the way down to 14th position. But then he's come back fighting up the order. He's now up into P12. There's a big gap between him and Chantal van Andel, which is around about 1.8 seconds. So it's Bol, Van Verschoylen, 10 back, P3. Stayhauer for VRL Motorsport, P4. Power Kart Racing's Robin Glirum in 5th. Nick Ploymers, Luca Prima, Ryan Kivitsbosch, and Servutas. Tommy van der Stroys in the 254 now up into 10th position. from last on the grid. Berghem sets the new fastest lap of the race. Oh, Kevin Stayhauer's dropped. And that was down to 8th position. And he's right in front of Van der Stroys. Zerhouters, P10. Kay Nintz, in the meantime, has tumbled to the bottom of the order in the 209 DJK Racing Croc Promotion chassis. And Van der Stroys, I think, might be looking for a move on Stayhauer. I think he's not quite got the job done. Tried to get the launch of traction coming out of the corner. And Stayhauer went, no, you don't, sonny boy. 3 minutes completed. 4 laps done and dusted. New fastest lap of the race, Nick Ploymers in P4. Well, he's about 7 and a bit tenths of a second off. There's 1.3 seconds off of the race lead, still held on to by the 255 with the very predominant orange race helmet of Enzo Boll, who's now, I had a chat with his dad yesterday afternoon before qualifying, and he said, well, Enzo finished all his studies at school, so he's now able to focus on his racing, which is a good thing for Enzo. For the opposition, I don't know if that's going to be to their liking, because the more track time that young man gets, the more proficient he gets, and you can tell by the way that he's just pulling away from Sam van der Stroys to the tune of now over 7 tenths of a second. 42.419 was the fastest lap of the race last time round on lap 5 by Enzo Boll, so he looks to be expanding that gap ever further. Husbecken, I'm on Hust watch at the moment. He's currently up to he's down to P15 at the minute. Of course, the MP kart racing drivers unable to make it for qualifying yesterday. Milan van Vinden now passed by Husbecken, who's that's the Husbecken of old. Rambunctiously gets his way through on I think that might have been, I don't think it was Quinten van Leuven. I think that might have been Chantal van Handel, possibly. Whether that was van Leuven on van Handel. And, yeah, it would have been van Leuven. As Enzo Boll is now is over 1 1/4 seconds up the road. He's just put in the new fastest lap, 42.043 by the 255. As, Quinten van Leuven getting his way through on Chantal van Handel. As she's got Husbecken not too far behind. Milan van Vinden in the back of shots. Kay Nintz. Meantime, Kevin Stayhauer has been passed. I think that's Ryan Kubitz's watching the 231 on the Energy Corsa chassis right in front. Energy Corsa chassis used by the likes of 2018 Grand Finals champion in Conde Paraíba, Brazil. Now running with Lechner Racing in the Mobile One Super Cup this weekend. Robert de Haan. That's the name from the history books. Now he's been running in a lot of other championships. As dived to the inside, as I think that might have been Husbecken finally getting through on Chantal van Handel. I think that might have been Tommy van der Stroys getting through on Mika van der Pavet. That was for P9. 2 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap still to go. And Van der Stroys is effectively doing what he needs to do to stay ahead of Daniel Tenbach and Nick Ploymers. Berghem in 5th. Brima. Ryan Kubitz's. I think it might be that Kevin Stayhauer has lost out to Van der Stroys. Well, Stayhauer has passed Kubitz's. Van der Stroys now through on Van der Pavert for 9th place. for the trio battling over P2. That is Van der Scoiler, Ten Back and Pluimers. They're battling like the last three children in the playground, battling over the swing that's free. At the moment, it's in one hand is, one hand of the rope that the swing creates off of the tree is in the hands of Sam van der Scoiler. Daniel Ten Back's trying to wrestle that one off of him, having grabbed the other rope. It keeps the swing together. But we will have 3 more laps remaining in this opening heat of the day for KZ2. The laps have just absolutely flown by. Mika van der Parvet through on Ryan Kiewicz-Bosch. Oh, it's the Interbirolot squabble now coming to raise its ugly head here. So it's going to be Boimers, Glirum and Brima rounding out the top 5. Steyhauer P6, Van der Parvet P8, Steyhauer P7, Van der Parvet and Ryan Kiewicz-Bosch round out the top 9 with Van der Stroys completing the top 10. 2 laps to go. The timer is counting down, so after this we will have 1 more to go. We'll also have 1 more lap to go as the timer hits 0 and Enzo Bol is away and clear, probably by the best part of nearly 2.5 seconds. But Enzo Bol has led this race comfortably. Last lap underway, lap 14 out of 14. Enzo Bol ahead of Sam van der Scoiler, just under 1.8 seconds adrift. Ten Back, Glirum, Nick Pluimers, Luca Brima, Kevin Steyhauer, Mika van der Parvet, new fastest lap of the race, 41.871. Van der Stroys up from 17th to now 9th. Ahead of Sarah Wouters, who has remained in the same qualifying position as where he put it on the grid yesterday afternoon during that very tricky set of conditions. But it is going to be the checkered flag for Enzo Bol. Sam van der Scoiler takes P2. Daniel Ten Back 3. P3, Robin Glirum. Nick Pluimers ran out the top 5 ahead of Luca Brima, Kevin Steyhauer, Mika van der Parvet and Enzo Bol. That turn 1, lap 1 incident. Kind of difficult to make out who might have been at fault, but that's not my decision to make a judgment call on that. We'll leave it to our panel of stewards and our judges of facts. So, Mika van der Parvet, P8. Tommy van der Stroys, Sarah Wouters ran at your top 10 ahead of Ryan Kiewicz-Bosch, Quinten van Leuven, Hoesbecken, Chantal van Andel, Milan van Vinden and Kane Ince rounding out the 16 finishers. And it all went wrong very quickly for the 2-3-4 of Nelson Berghaus, who did not make it to the end of the race.
Nou, dat komt wel los hoor, dat is hard genoeg. Ja, dat Eindhoven ook. Eindhoven was ook niet een stil.
So, one more race to take us to the lunch break here at Circuit Park Berghem for the midway point of the 2026 United Karting Series season. Time for KZ2 Masters, and it was a bit of a wishy-washy qualifying because the rain came through halfway through the session. Here's your starting order. 2024 champion Glenn Vandenhoek starts on pole position, joined by Erik Angenent on the front row, Mike Hendricks and Mick Bartram, row 2. The defending champion from last year, Jeroen Bos, will be joined on row 3 by Bas Steen, with Alexander Homerson and Ricards Kalnsens making it a Benelux Central Eastern Europe row number 4. William van der Kai rejoins us here, and he'll start on the inside of row number 5, joined by the 1-4-2 of Martin Versteeg. Sebastian Koppenol, Benno Ridder, Mark Verhoeven, Niels Böhler and William Kloster rounds out your 15-strong grid. So once again, we will have the textbook standing start, but the drivers will have another opportunity to get to warmth in the LeConte tyres and the associated front and rear brake sets on the respective axles before we go lights out for 9 minutes. Plus an additional lap here on the 1100 metre Eurofinal layout. If anyone asked me about the rain, I should plead the fifth, which basically means no comments, Your Honour. But at the moment, air temperature 18 degrees Celsius. No well, there's a very, very low possibility of rain, but there has been reports in the locality of patchy rain nearby. However, touch wood, we have had a bone dry track all morning and early afternoon long, as Marijn, our flag, our holder of the red flag at the start-finish straight, is waiting to greet the front row. Glenn van den Hoek now this year on CRG machinery. Erik Angenent on the Formula K on the outside. Then it is the 156 of Mike Hendricks with Mick Bertram on the Sodi kart in the 140. Lining up. Green flag waves at the back. Drivers told to now look at the lights as the revs rise. Now it's time to put the foot to the floor. First gear, lights are out. Great start from the outside of the front row as someone drops the clutch a bit too late through the start phase. And it looks like Erik Angenent has got through on Glenn van den Hoek. No, he hasn't. Van den Hoek, through the second phase of the start initiation, has managed to stay ahead as Mick Bertram has got through. Jeroen Bos in P5. Bastien up 2 places to 4th at the moment, ahead of the current reigning and defending champion. But, well, there you go. Glenn van den Hoek on the CRG. It looks like that machinery underneath him is suiting his driving style. William Klooster, unfortunately a non-starter, but van den Hoek out of the final corner will lead us over the line to complete the opening lap. There's a bit of a 3-wide exchange going through into into the final corner. As, oh, right, have we had a drama? I don't see that Mark Verhoeven and Niels Berle have come across the line, as Mick Bertram trying to get through on the 165 Formula K IPK chassis. And we have had a drama. Mark Verhoeven and Niels Berle, I think, might have just been eliminated from the race on the opening lap. So we're down to 12 runners and riders. But van den Hoek holding on to a lead, however slender it might be. Last time around it was 5.5 tenths of a second. But he completes lap number 2. Mick Bertram right in the wheel tracks of Erik Angenent on the Formula K. And, yeah, Verhoeven and Berle have retired. Looks like it was turn 2, lap 1, incident between the pairs. So the 162 and the 118 now eliminated from the race. And Sebastian Coppedal in P4 has just put in the fastest lap of the race. He was very quick last time out 3 weeks ago at Circuit de Lansard in the outskirts of Eindhoven. And he could be one to watch. He's just put in a 44.211, the 150. Man on the Cali kart. And he's really closing in on the top, the latter 2 of the top 3. Jeroen Bos, new fastest lap of the race by the man. Mick Bertram to the inside, and Sebastian Coppedal decides, hang on, there's room enough for me to go through. And I think Erik Angenent got caught napping a little bit there and then found that Sebastian Coppenol's to his immediate right-hand side and went, oh, that was a surprise, that was a fright. Yes, it was. However, 3 minutes down, 6 plus an additional lap to go. Van den Hoek controlling proceedings. Bertram, P2. Coppenol, P3. Angenent, Bos, Homerson now ahead of Steen for P6 overall. And Jeroen Bos, another new fastest lap of the race. And he took nearly a second out of Erik Angenent on the Formula K. 43.570, the new fastest lap by the 101, the reigning and defending Chrono Karting KZ2 Masters champion. William van der Kay, Martin Versteeg and Richard Kaunzims, the man from Latvia, rounds out your top 10 with Hendricks, Mike Hendricks and Benno Ridder. The last two drivers still competing in this race. But Van den Hoek being dragged back into some shape or form of reality as the Sodi kart of Bertram and the Cali kart of Coppenol are closing in on the man on the CRG. Van den Hoek with Dyson Motorsport making sure that he can get an opportunity as Jeroen Bos really dragging his SP Motorsport Kart Republic chassis by the shifter, kicking and screaming to close in on and pass Erik Angenent. The gap between first to fifth after 6 laps, 1.1 seconds. There's a change for the lead. Oh, Van den Hoek got steamrolled by Bertram and Coppenol. They did the tag team again, and now here comes Angenent to the inside at turn 5. He's not going to get through there, I'm afraid, as Jeroen Bos through at turn 6 gets through on Angenent. Great opportunistic and foresighted driving by the defending champion. Right, kart 1-8. Oh, Niels Berler has just been given an official warning for driving conduct. So that would have been involving the incident with him and Niels Berler on the opening lap. Mick Bertram now the new race leader after lap 7. But here goes Sebastian Coppenol. And he goes to the inside. Cali kart leads from Sodi kart. And now it's changed all again because Jeroen Bos and Erik Angenent has got through on Glenn van den Hoek. So get this for a list of chassis. Mick Bertram, Sodi kart. Sebastian Coppenol, Cali kart. Glenn van den Hoek, CRG. Jeroen Bos, Kart Republic. And Erik Angenent on the Formula K. And then it's another CRG in P6, Alexander Homerson from the sole Belgian. Jeroen Bos is on a charge, as can Mick Bertram find a way through on Sebastian Coppenol before it's too little too late, and Jeroen Bos does a number on the pair of them. But we're into the last 2.5 minutes plus an additional lap of this opening heat for KZ2 Masters here at round 4 of the United Karting Series season 2026 at Circuit Park Berghem, and Sebastian Coppenol trying to hang on to the race lead with 2 minutes and 20 to go. And when they're doing lap times around about 43 seconds, that's probably going to give us another 4 laps, including this one, to the checkered flag. Mick Bertram closing in on the back bumper of Coppenol, under braking through into turn 4 here on lap 9 of the race. Jeroen Bos, another new fast, well, lap 10 of this race. Jeroen Bos, a new fastest lap. The only driver in this race so far to go sub 43. 42.905 for the man from the Netherlands. And Coppenol in the 150. Who'd have thought of that? Starts on the inside of row 6 and he's now leading with 1 minute and 40 to go. He must be smiling like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland as Jeroen Bos close to the back of Mick Bertram, getting into turns 1 and 2. But now, Boz, with the experience that he has, he looked to dive to the inside of Mick Bertram, who had the same idea at turn 5 on Sebastian Coppenol. And Bertram said, oh, no way, that's bleeding happening on my watch. He said, you've got to do a lot better than that. Well, we know what, Boz and also Mick Bertram and Sebastian Coppenol are capable of. Right, kart 195. Alexander Homerson has just got a 3-second post-race time penalty for unsportsmanlike driving, and new track record, 42.872 for Jeroen Boz. And Boz is absolutely flying at the minute. We're on to lap 12, and Boz is absolutely flying. He's going wheel to wheel into the braking zone for turn 5. Jeroen Boz through for second on Mick Bertram with 35 on the counter to go. So after we cross the line, it'll be 2 laps to go. Jeroen Boz is within lunge range, but it may be a little bit of a short spell for him to tee it up. But Coppenol, a little bit slow through turn 1. That gives Boz the run on him coming out of 4. And here we go. Coppenol to the inside, Boz to the outside. Can he get the crisscross through into 5? Coppenol says no. Out of turn 6, into 7. Then into the left at 8, into turn 9, and then turns 10 and 11 to go. Just over 1,100 metres left, and Sebastian Coppenol is making his kart wider than an articulated lorry on the M25 during rush hour traffic. Last lap underway, and Jeroen Boz has probably maybe got 1 or 2 opportunities. One has gone already. Now to turn 5, Coppenol and Boz wheel to wheel into the braking zone. This could allow Mick Bertram to dive up the inside, and he's through for second. Great opportunistic move by Mick Bertram. Jeroen Boz is not going to win this race, but Sebastian Coppenol, come hell or high water, has hung on to this point, and the 150 from the Netherlands on the Cali kart started from 11th position, and what a run here in Heat 1 out of the final corner. Coppenol wins! Coppenol wins! Heat 1 in KZ2 Masters. What a run by Sebastian Coppenol. Finishes P1 ahead of Mick Bertram, and Jeroen Boz takes P3. Erik Angenent in 4th position. Glenn van den Hoek with the fastest lap of the race with 2 to go. A 42.776 rounds out your top 5. Alexander Homerson has been given a 3-second time penalty post-race. Still keeps him 6th ahead of Bas Steen. William van der Kai, Mike Hendricks, Rickard Kalzims completes the top 10 with Martin Versteeg and Benno Ridder, the last of the drivers that made it to the flag. And unfortunately, Mark Verhoeven and Niels Böhler coming together off of turns 1 and 2, giving Niels Böhler an official warning, and William Cluster, unfortunately, a non-starter. But Coppenol keeps them all at bay to win Masters in KZ2 Heat number 1.